We are talking about grace this year. Everybody say the word grace. And our theme for the year and for this series starting out the year is powered by grace. Look at somebody close to you and tell them, you are powered by grace. And you know what? Here's the truth about it, though. There's a lot of times where what we are doesn't feel like what we are. Did anybody wake up this morning and you were awake, but you didn't feel awake? Right? You know, your brain tells you you're awake, but nothing actually feels that way, right? You have a gift of God's grace in your life. You have a gift from God. Look at somebody close to you and tell them, you got a gift from God. And that gift is present. Now, whether you feel like it exists or don't, it is absolutely present in your life. Whether you feel like you're awake right now or not, you are. I mean, and if somebody falls asleep, you can just knock them and wake them up, all right? I shouldn't be preaching that bad today. It should be okay. But we all have this grace of God that is present in our lives. And the grace of God is the power of God. Everybody say power. And the grace of God is the favor of God. Everybody say favor. The grace of God is the presence of God. Everybody say, okay, you're tracking. It's the presence of God. And His grace is just, it's God being available to us in every single way. And so I want to talk about a specific way that God's grace is available to us today. It's found in the book of Ephesians. Paul, the apostle, wrote this letter to the Ephesians. And in writing this letter, he talks about this grace that God has given to us. He says, however, He has given each one of us a special gift. Everybody say a special gift. He has given each one of us a special... To how many people has He given this special gift? To each one of us, which means that how many of us in this room have a special gift from God? Every single person in this room. You are sitting here right now, and not because you came to church, although you made the best decision on Sunday morning to be right here. You guys agree with that? Yeah. When you give the first day of your week to God, God blesses the rest of it. But to each one of you, not because you're here at church or anything like that, no. Because you believe in Him, you have received a special gift through the generosity of Christ. How good is it to know that our God is a generous God? And anybody know some stingy people? Anybody would raise their hand and say that you're a stingy? No, don't. It's okay. But how good is it to know that we have a generous God towards us? He is generous in every way towards us. And we're going to jump into this today. So each one of us has a special gift. Let me pray and jump into this message. God, we thank You so much for our moments that we have together this Sunday morning. I thank You for bringing everybody here this morning. And I pray, God, that You would speak to our hearts in a powerful way, that You would move us further along as we walk with You, and You would help us to take our next steps on this journey that we are walking with You. And for anybody in this room, God, that is here just kind of searching, God, would You also reveal Yourself to them and make it clear to everybody in this room how great and how good You are, and how present and available You are for our lives. Jesus, we thank You for this time, and we bless it. In Jesus' name, everybody says, Amen. So, however, each one of us has a special gift. Does anybody here in this room like gifts? Yeah. Okay. For those that did not respond when it's your birthday or Christmas, go ahead, receive the gifts, and then just transfer them over to me. I'll take them, all right? I love gifts. Gifts are good. Really, really good. And, we all love receiving gifts. Today is my son David's 8-year-old birthday. 8-year birthday. 8-year-old. He turns 8 today, all right? I can't talk this morning. And he woke up this morning, and Caleb, my son, walked into our room, our oldest, and he walked into the room and said to Evelyn, my wife, he said, so I was out there like around David's room, and David called me into his room and said, hey, Caleb, don't you have something to tell me today? Right? That's how it went, Caleb, right? You know, David is so ready to receive gifts. He has told us the menu he wants of the food he wants to eat. He wrote down a whole list of things he wanted. And the crazy thing, don't tell him this, okay? He's here at church right now, not in here, but, you know, he's with all the kids in our Be the Kids program. But He wrote on this list like this Lego Star Wars thing that they cost like $100 and some odd dollars. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And it's like way too expensive. I'm like, I told Evelyn this week, well, we'll just get like these 3 things for him and we'll be good, right? Because we don't have that type of money. And then all of a sudden I remembered that a friend of ours gave us a Christmas gift for each of our kids, some cash, literally $100 for each of my kids. And I remembered this morning, I went, Evelyn, we still have the $100. We can buy it for him. So we're going to Target on the way home and buying him his Lego Star Wars, whatever, Star Destroyer, Death Star, or something or other for him. And make him happy. And we all love gifts, right? Gifts are good to have. And how incredible is it to know that to each one of us, to how many of us? To each one of us, God has given us a special gift. Now, everybody knows what the word special means. Tell somebody close to you and tell them you are special. And I know that's always like weird to say, right? To people, oh, you're so special. You're special. Special person, right? Special. But the reality is that God has given a gift to us that is completely special. Another way to say this would be that the gift you have received is unique to you. It's unique to you. And only you have the gifts that God has given to you. I want to start out today just by saying this. You are not God's plan B for anybody else on this earth. You are God's plan A. God did not put you on this earth and went, in case it doesn't work out with somebody else, at least I got somebody in the lineup. No. You are God's plan A. Nobody can replace you. You are totally unique. There is not a single person like you on this planet. And God has made you exactly who you are. And He has made you with a purpose on this planet that only you can fulfill. I used to believe that because God is sovereign, and He is sovereign, meaning He is in control and in charge of everything. But I used to believe that people were just expendable, and that if it didn't work out with one, God would just pick somebody else. Until I realized that that would be a complete waste of humanity for God to have some people in waiting and others who are the real one. No. God has placed you on this planet with a specific purpose, and there is nobody that can take your place. And there's nobody else, nobody can take yours, and you don't exist to take anybody else's place. God, it's not that He cannot, God will not replace you. There is only one you. Is anybody thankful for that this morning? Yeah. Absolutely. Come on. If you're going to give it applause, give it for real. There you go. And so you have this special gift, and in other words, in the actual Greek, it is saying He has given each one of us a grace. God has given each one of us a grace. And I love that He says each one of us, because there is not a single person who is outside of the receiving this grace from God, this special gift. How many of you would love to walk into your bank one day, or to open up your bank app, your Chase app or B of A app, and all of a sudden see $50,000 in there randomly? And then to call them and find out it's not an accident, right? That'd be great, right? You know, I remember when Evelyn and I sold our house a couple of years ago to buy another one because we adopted Daniel, needed a bigger house, the whole deal. And we made all this money off of the first house, and we're like, this is great. And then it was going to be applied to the down payment for the second house, which is good too. But I never saw that money in the bank. It literally just went from one to the other. I'm like, I can't even get in the bank and just say, let me pull out $200 to go celebrate with my family. No, it was never there. It was there, but not there. Like, man. And that was like $100-some thousand. I was like, couldn't I just have like little, just small amount of this much? It's just like, we got it in the bank, right? How many feel like life is that way a lot of times? It's just like, where'd the blessing go? You know, but it's in the house. It's good. It's still there, stable. But here's the reality. God has already deposited something into your personal life bank account. Your life account. And it is already present there. And get this, there is nothing you need to do to get it. Watch what He said, Ephesians 4:7. However, He has given. Everybody say those 3 words with me. He has given. He has given. You know what the word has means, right? Past tense. He has given. He doesn't say he will give. He's thinking about giving. He's going to give. If you complete this list of all these requirements, then you'll give. No. He has given you a grace, a special gift that is yours and yours alone. You already have it. You may not feel like you have it. You may not see it. You may not think you have it. But I promise you, you have it. It's already there. And nobody can take it away. Because gifts from God don't get removed by anybody. And I want to say one other thing. And I didn't even say this in our first service today. But I just feel like there's somebody in this room that needs to hear this. There is nothing you could do to even remove that gift from your life. Nothing. And you might be sitting here today going, I am a failure. I have screwed up. There's all these things that are wrong. My marriage is on the rocks. You still got the gift. Man, everything is not going right. I don't have money in the bank account. I'm actually $30,000 in debt. Still got the gift. Man, but you don't understand, my boss at work, or I am the boss and I can't handle my work, or whatever. You still got this gift from God. There is nothing in life that can remove a gift from God, because God is the one who gives and takes away. The only person that can remove a gift is God himself. It's his gift to give, and it's his to take. But not even you or anybody else can remove a gift that God has given to you. Is anybody thankful for that? Amen. It is solid, it is stable, it is there, and it ain't going anywhere. And so he's given each one of us a gift. Now there's an interesting thing. I'm going to go back a few verses to verse 3, because I want you to see what Paul is trying to say here. And I would typically kind of, in some messages, wait until the end to say this, but I'm going to say it right here, right now. What this message is about, let me be very clear, is that God has given you a gift that is meant to be used to bless other people. If you won the lottery tomorrow, anybody say an amen to that? If you won the lottery tomorrow, I miss it. But if you won the lottery tomorrow, regardless of what you would do long term with the money, I would imagine that probably the first thing you would do is you would grab your family, go out to a restaurant and celebrate, right? Like, I won it, let's go eat. It's probably, maybe after you bought your brand new Ferrari or something, I don't know. But that's one of the first things you do. Or in other words, the first thing you would do is you would share the gift with others. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to go and take 100,000 of the million and just gift it to somebody. No. But what I am saying is you would allow others to participate in the blessing of that which you have received. Am I making sense to anybody? And so here's the reality. God has given you a gift which is not for you. It is meant to be shared. God has placed you on this planet not just for you, but to be a blessing to others, to use that gift, to contribute to others, to use that gift to be a blessing to others, to walk in relationship with other people, to live a life of serving other people, which absolutely means that we are not living life egotistical or selfish. We are living life receiving freely from God so we can freely give to other people around us. Does anybody believe that's a good way to live? And so here's the interesting thing. Paul, starting right here in verse 3, he says this: make every effort to keep yourselves, what's the word right there? United. Everybody say united. United. Okay, united, or together in the Spirit. Binding yourselves together with peace. For there is how many bodies? One body. And how many spirits? One Spirit. So keep yourself united, or keep yourself one, because there is one body and there is one Spirit. Just as you have been called to how many glorious hopes? One glorious hope for the future. He goes on to say in verse 5, there is how many Lords? How many faiths? How many baptisms? How many gods? How many fathers? One. One. God is one. There's only one God. There's only one hope. There's only one faith. There's only one who is over all, in all, and living through all. And if you happen to be taking notes, while verse 6 is not my primary verse, I want to go back to verse 6 if you could. That concept, God is over all, He is in all, and He is living through all. This is important. What Paul is showing us here is that God is present everywhere and in everything. Now, he's not saying some new age concept of like the tree is God, okay? He's not like, oh, there's God, the tree, let me worship the tree. No. We worship God who's the maker of the tree, but the tree shows me a revelation of who God is. God is present actively in all of his creation, over it, in it, and living through it. So I can go to a nice forest somewhere and sit down among the trees and admire the greatness of who God is in that place, because I see his work right in front of my eyes. Am I making sense to anybody? Yes. All right. So the creation isn't the goal, the creator is, but God is present in everything, which also means that God is present over us, in us, and also he is living through us. He is present over you and in you and living through you. And here's the thing that I was going to wait until the end to say, but I'll say it right now, maybe repeat it later, which is this, which means that the better I do at getting to know God's people, the bigger the perspective I get of who God is. This is why on the planet today, issues of what we call tribalism, where people break into all these groups based off of whether it be color or political party or this, that, or the other. This is actually the problem here, is because when we live our lives together with people that are all like us, we actually don't get a really good perspective of who God is. Because the more I spend time with God's unique creation, people that are different than me, the more I see of who God is. If everybody around me is like me, then I only see one side of God, like the profile of God's face. But the more I experience all that God has made, and especially all the people that God has made, the more I experience who God actually is. Am I making sense to everybody? God has placed a deposit inside of each and every one of us. So when I see you, and I get to see another part of who God is. And when I see you, I get to see another part of who God is. And when I go to each person, man, I get a bigger revelation of who God is. And so you're walking in community and relationship with others and serving other people actually gives you the opportunity to see more of God. Some people think to see God is just go out and spend time alone and pray. Now that is good. I do that. You should do it too. But that is not the only way God reveals himself, because God is overall, in all, and living through what? All. Now Paul gets through this and he says one a whole bunch of times. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God, one Father over all, right? One. And then he gets to verse 7 and he starts with this word. The first word of verse 7 is what word right there? However. I love this word. It's actually one of the most important words in this passage right now. It's like when you're talking to your kids. Not everybody has kids here, I know, but it's like you're talking to your kids. You say, all right, we are going to go and have dinner at a really nice restaurant. And they're like, yeah, wonderful. And you say, however, oh no, what's coming now? Here's a list. Clean your room, do this, do that, do the other, right? Then it's coming, right? However, sets you up for something that is a little bit different than that which came before. So Paul's just got it through saying we are one, we're one body, it's one faith, it's one God, it's one baptism, one hope, one God, one Father. However, everybody say however. He goes on to say, but you're different than everybody else. So I just got through saying that we are all one, but in the one, there is nobody like you. So we are all one, but you are incredibly unique inside of that one. And the easiest way is to actually use Paul's own words from one of the verses we already read, which he said, we are one body. Everybody say one body. And that's simple. Use your own body as an example of that. You have one body. You don't have multiple bodies. I only have one body. I am not standing up here with the second version of Jeff, right? There's only one body, but what we know is that every part of my body is unique and different. And they all have different functions and different purposes. My eyes don't do what my nose does, and my nose doesn't do what my hands do, and my feet are different than, every part of your body accomplishes a different purpose. And so Paul is saying here, essentially, we are all one, but you inside of that one as a member of this great big one body with one God. You are completely unique in who you are and your contribution to the whole of that one body. I want you to do something real quick. Just look around the room. Just look around the room. You don't have to stare at anybody weird, all right? No weird faces, all right? But just look around. Look at all the people in the room, right? And we here at our church, we got 3 services every Sunday, so we got even way more people than this. And we've been filling up this room now for a few weeks ago, and I'm so excited about what God is doing at 10 a.m. Sunday morning right here. Anybody excited with me? And it's been great. Keep on inviting people, and we're filling this place up, and I love it. But we are one body with all believers, and not just our church, with all the believers everywhere. And as a member of this body, God is giving you a special gift, the grace that is only yours, makes you completely unique, and you cannot be replaced, which means your contribution to the body cannot be replaced by somebody else. And if your contribution is missing, then it's like the body missing an eye, or the body missing a nose. It's the body missing something else. And the problem with so many of us, so often, is we compare our gifts in size to somebody else's, right? We go, well, you know, and the kids do this all the time. They compare the physical size of the gift, right? Why did he get the 6-foot stuffed teddy bear? You know, I just got the 4-foot one, you know, or whatever. But we're always comparing, right? You know, I got less, or I got more. They got more. They got the whatever. We have this comparison game. But you know what the crazy thing is about your body? And none of us really walk around going, oh my gosh, my nose is bigger than my eyes. Like, there are parts, you know, oh man, my legs are bigger than my arms. What happened? No, because we understand that each part of the body has a different function. And because they have a different function, they have a size and a capacity that is all different because they function in a different way. And you do not need to live your life comparing who you are and what you have and who God has made you to be to any other person on this planet, because your function and your identity is completely unique to you. And the moment that you, watch this, hear this with me, I'm going back to what I said before. The moment you start comparing yourself to anybody else is the moment that you start making yourself a plan B instead of a plan A. It's the moment you start saying, well, I'm expendable because they got this and I don't have it. I just want to be a copy of them. You don't need to be a copy of anybody else. Yeah. If God gives you more or less, different, whatever, that is what God gave to you. And before God, you and I are responsible for just taking what He's given to us and to share that with everybody. Who cares what somebody else has? I just got to focus on, here's what God gave me, and how am I going to use this to be a blessing to others? He has given each one of us a special gift through the generosity of Christ. Through the generosity of Christ. Everybody say the word generosity. Generosity. This word in the actual Greek is actually more than one word, and it literally says, according to the measure of the gift of Christ. According to the measure of the gift of Christ. Literally, what Paul is saying here is that God gives you a grace, a special gift, and He gives it to you according to a certain measure. Now, everybody know what the word measure means, right? How we measure stuff. We measure quantity. So we know that God gives you a gift with a certain quantity, a certain type of gift with a certain quantity, according to a certain measurement that God has. And God has this different measurement with each and every one of us. And this measurement is not the same. It is different for every person. And so, like I said, so often we look at the measure of something and we make the mistake of thinking that the measure of my gift needs to be the same as the measure of somebody else's gift, right? And so when we go on, you know, you fill out the applications and they ask you questions like, how tall are you, and what's your hair color and your eye color and this thing and that thing, and how incredible is it to know this simply put, that there's only one Jeff Toll. There might be more guys with my name, possibly, but there's only one Jeff Toll with blonde hair, blue eyes, that is 5 feet, 11 inches, and 3/4. I put 6 on every application because, that's what I believe about myself. But the last appointment at the doctor's, apparently I shrunk or something. I'm 5'11 and 3/4, just barely under. And there is only one like me who has the characteristics I have, who has the personality I have, who has the gifts that God has given to me. There is only one, and nobody can take my place. Yep. And someday in 30 years, 40 years, when God says, Jeff, time to give up the church and do something else, like, I don't know what, but whatever. Whoever comes in and takes my place in however many years, that person will be nothing like me, and they never can be like me. Why? Because they are unique in themselves as well. God has only made one version of you. I remember when I was 17 years old, right summer before my last year of high school. And I was at a summer camp, a youth summer camp with our church, and God spoke to me. And I knew that God was giving me, or had given me, this gift that needed to be shared. And I essentially knew what it was. But I told God, I had a very quick meeting with God. It lasted about 2 seconds. I just said, God, I won't be a pastor. And that was the extent of my meeting. It was done. I told God, right? Try that one. Yeah. It was over the next few months, beginning of my senior year, that I got the opportunity to speak in front of 2 groups of youth. One had 800 youth at a school that I was at, and one had 2,000 youth at a conference. I received these opportunities not because I was a great preacher or known for anything. It's just they happened, they came my way. Verse 7, because of the grace of God. And after speaking at those 2 events, it was just a month later when God spoke to me again and said, Jeff, you're supposed to be a pastor. And at that moment I said, God, yeah, I got it. Let's do this thing. And I was ready. And I've been pastoring now for going on pretty much 20 years practically, just under 20 years. And here's the crazy thing. That first event I spoke at with 800 students, well, my kids go to that same school now. And I just got invited to go in 3 weeks and to speak to them. And this is the first time, literally, in 22 years, from the first time I spoke to now this moment, coming back as a pastor 22 years later and being able to speak to the student body and make fun of my son and daughter at the school while I'm at it. It'll be great. And we're getting claps for that one. All right. But how incredible it is to see how God has made me uniquely me, and He's made you uniquely you, and that there's nobody else that can replace you. But what that also means is that you are now responsible. You're responsible for sharing that which God has given to you, because nobody else can share that which God has given to you. Nobody else has it. So the moment I realize that I've got something nobody else has, now it's on me to be responsible with that which God has given to me as a gift. Am I making sense to anybody here? And let me be clear real quick, just so you guys know, and then I want to give one last example, and then we'll be finishing up the message. That's why if you can hang out after service for 30 minutes and attend what we call our growth track, that'll be supremely helpful to you. Today, we're focused on how church really is all about the people. It's all about the people. Everybody say all about the people. It is. It's all about the people. That is what church is. It's us and God together, and that's what it's all about. And growth track today for 30 minutes after service is focused on that. And next week, 30 minutes after service, it's focused on actually finding your gifts. Exactly what I'm talking about today. Finding your gifts, knowing who you are. We actually do a personality profile, a gifts profile, so you can kind of figure out what is it that God has given to me that I can use to serve other people and bless other people. So if you got the time, it's only 30 minutes. Hang out after service today, next week as well. It'll be helpful to you. You'll learn some stuff from it. It'll be great for your life. But anyways, let me finish up with this today. So God has given you this gift according to His measure. So God's got this measuring tool, and he has a certain measure amount that He gives to you. And the interesting thing is, just like a good recipe, you got to get the measurements right? Because if you have too much flour and too little liquid, then you're not going to have anything going. It's going to be a dry piece of whatever, right? And if you have too much liquid and not enough flour, then you're just going to have just a soupy mess of something, right? When there's a recipe, you need the right measurements of every single ingredient that is going into there. Am I making sense to anybody? And you would call it dumb if you said, well, I think the 2 cups of sugar is angry because there were 3 cups of flour. You're like, no, that's stupid. It doesn't matter who gets more of what. It just matters that everything together works in the way it needs to work, so the final product comes out and you go, wow, this final product is amazing. Let me tell you something. People are not going to just be impressed by you as a believer in Jesus. They will be impressed by God's church when they see the final product of God's one body working together and becoming something and go, wow, that is an amazing group of people right there. I've never seen anybody love each other like they love each other. I've never seen anybody care for each other, serve each other like they do. My family's a disaster. How do they love each other so good? And they actually smile at each other, imagine that. And I don't get that from anybody, but they smile, look at that. And they see something that they don't get anywhere else. Am I making sense to anybody? Monica, let's go ahead and do it. We're going to pass out randomly to a few of you. Don't worry, there's nothing weird going on in the room. We're going to pass out some containers to each and every one of you. Just something small I wanted to do as I come to the end of the message. And each of your containers is filled with water. Don't drink it, please. The water is good, or I could lie to you and just say there's, venom in it, and don't drink it, it'll be bad. But no, water's good. We're just going to randomly pass out a few of these to you, to each and every one of you. And you're getting them right now. Just pick people. Thank you, ushers. Okay, now if you got one of these containers, I want you to stand up real quick. If you got a container, just stand up. Again, nobody's being embarrassed. Nobody's taking a bath. Nothing weird is going to happen here. And each one of you has a different container, different size, different color, which is a perfect description of who we are as people, right? The container that you have, who you are, your personality, your style, whatever. You are different. There's nobody like you. But then the gift that God has given, represented by the water in each container, is all different amounts. It's all different amounts. Different amounts in each container. And it would be a mistake to look at somebody else's container and go, oh my gosh, they got like 2 ounces more than I did. No, because that's not how the gifts work. That's not the point of the gifts. The gifts is not about how much you got. The gifts is about how what you get, you use to serve and bless others. So it'd be selfish to say, God, you didn't give me $1 million. Why? Because I want $1 million. No. Man, if God gave me $1 million or 100,000 or 50 or whatever, and I get to use that to bless others, well then good. I use whatever He's given to me, and I give it and bless it and serve others. So I'm going to ask, let's see, I want you to come up with me. Come up with me right now. And so this right here, you're good so far. Yeah. This represents one body. Everybody say one body. And what God has given to you is part of the whole. Just like your eye is part of your body, your hand is part of your body. We don't want any of that missing. Go ahead and pour yours in. And what happens is, when we add ours to the mix, you two can come up, actually 3 of you right there. But yeah, you can go ahead and put yours in. When we add ours to the mix, all of a sudden, the body becomes more whole. Step by step by step, the body becomes more whole. And I want you to understand this. The body will be incomplete unless your gift is active and being used. If you're gifted, don't worry, it's not flown over. Not yet, at least. He's worried that it's going to go over. Let me do it slow. We have tested this already. That water is not going over. I promise it is not going over. It's close. Come here with me. I want you guys to see something. Yes. Don't put it in yet. No, you can come close, but you have a very small amount. Now, in today's world, if I was only thinking about me, or if you were only thinking about you, you would just look at that and go, man, everybody else got so much more than me. But the problem is God did not create us to be individuals. He created us to live and walk in community. Which means that the gift that He has placed inside of me is not for me, it is for the whole. And so when my gift is for me, I'm concerned about the size of my gift. But when my gift is actually for the whole, it actually doesn't matter. It's like a puzzle piece that we just got to make sure that all the pieces fit together. That's the bigger concern. And so your gift, no matter how small it is or how big it is, it's part of the whole. So why don't you go and fill up the whole? And we might even just have a little bit extra to go over the sides, which is fine. If it goes over, you're okay. If it goes over, you're good. We have the paper towels here for a reason. Right at the top. We are completely, totally full. Good job. You nailed it. It doesn't matter the size of your gift. What matters is whether you use your gift as a part of the body of Christ. And so God's gift to you makes you completely unique and different than anybody else. There's nobody like you. But know that now that you have a gift, you're responsible to use that gift to contribute to the body of Christ. It's not for you to hold on to and just admire. It's not for 100,000 to sit in the bank and look, I have 100,000. And then tomorrow, oh, guess what? I have 100,000. And the day after that, oh, guess what? I still have 100,000. You see, here's the crazy thing. Money, that goes away when you spend it. Your gift, let me end with saying this. Your gift, when you spend it, God's bank account is eternally full, my friends. When you spend the gift that He has given to you, He fills you right back up all over again, and you are never missing out on anything. And so use it. Spend it. Spend that which God has given to you. Bless and serve other people, because the church is about God and His people. And when the world sees that, then the world will want to be a part of the people of the church as well, right? By this, the world will know, it's said in Scripture, that you are my disciples, by your love for one another. And so when you give of your gifts in love towards others, the people around us will go, man, I see something there that I don't see everywhere. I want to be a part of that. Can anybody say amen to that? All right, would you stand up with me this morning as we come to the end of our time together? And I would like to pray for all of you as we end this message today. I completely blanked on this. Anybody remember, we're not going to show it, but anybody remember that when Oprah gave away the cars to a whole bunch of people? That was like 15 years ago. Some of you might have seen the video. And, you know, she hands out these little boxes to everybody, and there's a key inside the boxes, and she tells them, nobody can open up their boxes. You all have to wait. You all have to wait. And so they all get their boxes brought in, these little boxes. And then she lies to them. She says, all right, there is one more car that we're giving away, so one of you is going to have the key inside the box. And then all of a sudden she said, okay, everybody, and they're all like, ready. Now, everybody, open your box. And they all open the box, and guess what happens? Every single box has a key. And she goes, and you have a car, and you have a car, and you have a car. Can I just tell you, you have a gift, and you have a gift, and you have a gift, and every person in this group has received something from God. There's not one person that is outside of it. You have received it. Jesus, today we thank you so much for the time that we have been able to spend together. I thank you for every person in this room who is a unique creation of yours, that you have made exactly like you have made them in the way that you want them to be made. And God, we thank you that you are so amazing in how you have spread out your creativity and who you are as God, your identity among so many of us, that as we get to know others and share with others, we get to see and know more of you. And so God, we want to always be connected to you and connected to others as well. With all eyes closed, I want to ask a simple question. Are you here today and you maybe were impacted in some way by this message, but what you're realizing right now is you need to get connected to the gift giver, because you can't even understand what your gift is until you know the one who gave you the gift. and you've been trying to figure out your way in this world, but you realize today is your day of saying yes to Jesus and knowing Him. And if that's you today, I'd like you to just raise up a hand real quick. I won't embarrass a single person in this room. I just want to see that. See if today is your day of saying yes. Thank you for the hand. Thank you for the hand. May today be your day of, as you say yes to Jesus, you will be filled to overflowing with the presence of God and the life of God, the new life that God has to offer to you. May you walk forward in it, experience it, live it out in every way, and be blessed by this life that God has for you. May you, as you experience this life, walk into fullness of joy and fullness of peace and fullness of God's presence in every single way, in the name of Jesus. Amen.